I do remember the Saturday, the day after, we did skate. We didn't have full gear. We had sweats and whatnot, but it was not a long practice, probably an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, but it was probably one of the hardest practices that we had all year long. And he did that to make sure that we didn't lose our focus.
Mm-hmm.
That, yes, we'd done the hard part, but he made sure that we hadn't forgotten what we still had some work to do. And then that night, I believe it was Diane Warwick performed in the Olympic Village.
Yeah.
So that helped kill some time.
Yep.
But you hear players say after Rizzo scored the fourth goal to go ahead with exactly 10 minutes to go that those 10 minutes were the longest 10 minutes of our lives. And after we beat the Soviets, the 36 hours or so between the Soviet game and the Finland game were the longest 36 hours of our lives. That game couldn't come fast enough.
That was also, I think, a late afternoon or afternoon game, Sunday afternoon.
Finland was at 11 o'clock Eastern.
Is that right? It was a morning game?
Yep.
Yep, and then all you guys later in the day.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, later in the day, that just decreased the time you had to wait it out, right?
That's right.
And later that day, you all went back to the field house, and somehow you all managed to stand on the same podium.
Yes, we did that. We were flexible back then.
Yes, you were. I want to play. You're the winning goal scorer for the gold medal. You're the one who put them up 3-2, which proved to be the winning goal. We have that right here. I want you to hear that. I'm not sure you've ever heard this before, Rob.
Right.
Christian there with him. Wells, who has lost his helmet, starts to skate out of his own end. Up ahead to Eric Strobel. Strobel then loses at center ice to Makitalo. Taken away there by Baker. Baker in over the blue line. Shot in around the boards, back of the net. Saarinen losing it there. Johnson with it. Comes back to Christian at the point. Davey getting out in front. Backhands it. Swept aside in front. Johnson to McClanahan. He scores!
How quick was that shot?
Well, I was actually, to be honest, I yelled for the puck from Magic from behind the net. And I had seen Eric Strobel out of the corner of my eye on the far side of the net somewhere. But Pele Lindbergh, who I believe was the goaltender, had made a move and opened his, between the legs, his 5-hole.
Yep.
So I just rifled it through his 5-hole.
Oh, simple, yeah. What the hell?
Rob, it's Rookie. Did Strobel come up to you after the goal and say, that could have been better? That could have been
me. Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
Did it sadden you guys to break up?
Yes. So after the Finland game, after we won the gold, before we received our medals, David Silk in the locker room said, "That's it, boys. We're done."
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And, other teams, you have guys that, you have kids that have graduated or are graduating, or you have professionals who retire or get traded. But most teams, in some way, shape, or form, come back for another year.
Right.
This one was done. We always have said we would love to have played together going forward in some league.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been fun.
And most of you ended up in the NHL and not together.
I don't know about most. There are a lot of guys that ended up playing pros, not like they do today. But I would argue that team opened the door for not just the Americans going forward, but for all hockey players from all over the world. They finally opened the doors and they opened their eyes to realize that there are really good players outside of Canada.
Oh, good Lord, yes. 12 Minnesotans on the team. Was there rivalry between the Minnesota guys or the western half of the world guys and the East Coast guys?
Yeah, maybe at first.
Yeah.
Maybe at first, but as the year progressed, that was broken down. We still talk about, when guys start chirping about BU versus Minnesota or Wisconsin, or, we start telling the guy he's getting regional on us. But we have a lot of fun with that. But at the end of the day, there's nothing but true friendships and complete and total respect.
You guys, for the most part, have stayed in touch at least, right? You see each other occasionally. Yeah. You'll see each other this weekend in Las Vegas, correct?
We will, yes. Some of the guys are going out tonight. I'm going to go out tomorrow morning. We're going to spend 2.5, 3 days at various venues, and enjoy we're not going to play hockey, thank goodness. We're going to watch the Vegas Golden Knights play hockey. And I hear that's quite a show they put on out in Vegas for that NHL team. So
yeah, it looks like
medieval. We're going to have a good time and enjoy it.
When did it occur to you what this meant to the country?
When we went to the White House.
Okay.
The day after, we took Air Force One, and we flew into D.C., and then we took a transportation to the White House to meet President Carter and his wife. And the streets were lined 6-7 people deep. We had no idea of that. At least I didn't.
Wait a minute. Did Air Force One come to Lake Placid?
I think it went to Albany.
Albany, sure. Then you guys flew Air Force One from Albany to Washington.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
Cool.
It wasn't a 747 in those days, though.
Okay.
It's still kind of nice.
I suppose it wasn't bad. Yeah. Yeah. How'd they get you back?
Oh, God. That part I don't remember. No, we flew out of Albany, or not out of Albany. We flew out of Washington. They took care of us, and we went our various ways.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had another parade here in Minneapolis. A couple of days later, actually across the University of Minnesota down Washington Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that. And it was cold that day. Holy smokes, was that cold?
Yeah.
But
well, son, you have a lot to be proud of.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? We're still milking it. People say you're still milking it after 40 years, but we say, well, if a U.S. team would win a gold medal, they wouldn't talk about us anymore.
Well, Irizoni has made his living out of it, hasn't he?
Rizzo's made a living off it. But with all due respect, the movies helped resurrect his career, I'll say that, and he will too. But Rizzo does a really nice job. He's very good at his craft. And the door was open to him, and he took advantage of it, and he earns his keep.
Yep.
Hey, Rob, I have to ask you a question before Joe cuts me off. The part of Herbie before the Finland game, looking at you guys, because this is my favorite part of the movie, and saying you're going to take it to your bleeping grave. How accurate was that?
Well, but that wasn't in the movie. See, that's the thing.
Oh, it wasn't.
No, they ended it after the Soviet game. But the hard part had been done. We had a hard practice Saturday. We got to the rink. We'd warmed up. Herbie came into the locker room. Now, Herbie was always prepared. He always had a string of comments that he would make. It was not a long speech always, but it was pointed. And on this day, he walked in. He had no sheet. He had nothing in his hand. And he paced back and forth and just looked at us. And then he said, if you lose this game, you'll take it to your effing grave. Turned, walked to the door, turned back and said, your effing grave. And that's all he said.
When did he say you were born to be here?
That was again before the Soviet game.
Oh, okay.
So, and I don't know, I don't remember that speech.
No, you were too nervous.
Well, I just don't remember. I mean, he did say a form of that, I'm sure. But the other part that people don't know or don't realize is after the second period of the Finland game, we were down 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
And so Herbie was too nervous. Craig Patrick tells the story. Herbie was too nervous. He says, I'm not going in there, Patty. You go in there. And so Craig came in and he tried to start talking to us, and we said, Patty, get the hell out of here. We said, we got this. There's no way we're going to lose this game. So, you heard me mention earlier that Herbie said we're going to be the best conditioned team in the tournament.
Right.
We got scored on first 7 out of the 8 games we played.
Good Lord.
Wow.
We outscored on a ratio in the 8 games, our opponents probably 4 to 5 to 1 in the third period.
Isn't that something?
Jeez.
And that is the reason that we won the gold medal, is because that was by far the best condition I've ever been in.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't without its pain and paying a price. And we would not have been able to be in that shape without somebody who just kicked our tail, because we wouldn't have done it on our own. There's just no way.
Right.
But I now know that, Joe, you asked me earlier, one of the things I learned is that I was capable of far more than I ever realized. And not just in hockey, but in all aspects of life. But it's not without a price to pay and sacrifices. But if there's a desire that's strong enough, you find that it's worth it.
When you look back in the last 40 years and when Herb was still alive, did you ever get together with Herb? I know, well, obviously you did with the Rangers, but beyond that.
Yeah, we were starting to break down. So you heard me allude to the fact that the guys from Minnesota didn't have a real relationship with Herbie. We were finally starting to break that down. When I say we, I'm speaking of the Minnesota guys.
Mm-hmm.
And we were finally starting to break that barrier down, and he was becoming one of the guys, so to speak, and we could actually give him a hard time and laugh about it, and he would laugh too. And that was literally at the first part of that process when he ended up dying. And that's part that that's one of the reasons I'm truly sad. The other part is I never really did talk to him about the deal against Sweden and why he chewed me one. It's hard to argue with the results.
Right.
But I would have liked to have at least had a conversation.
Right.
Did you have any relationship at all post hockey with any of the anybody on the Russian team? Any guys?
We crossed paths. Rizzo has, I know that. And then, Mike Ramsey played with Fetisov in Detroit.
Okay.
That's right.
So they were teammates there, and they may even been defensive partners. But we would cross paths with Fetisov when we went on a show from time to time, but I didn't have a huge relationship with any of those guys.
I have to ask you, because you guys were so tight and you were so emotional when was it Silk who said this is it?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about Pav?
We wish for nothing but the best.
Right.
Pav's I love the guy. He's like a brother. I roomed with him when I was in New York on the road. It's a sad time, but we're working with the powers to be to get him the best help we can get him, and hopefully he comes through this.
Very good, my man. Good luck tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
And then
good luck to the next three. The sad thing is, Joe, I'm going to miss. We play on Saturday. Assuming we win tonight, we play on Saturday.
Oh boy!
So my squad's going to have to play without me.
Well, see, now I can't let you go. You are coaching Blake a lot differently, I would imagine, than Herbie coached you.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm not skating for 3 hours doing nothing but Herbies.
Right.
But they are in good shape. I don't yell at them. I encourage them. Understand that these kids today are different, and you can't. A taskmaster doesn't work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You have to sell them on the product. You almost have to be a salesman. They have to believe that you believe in them, and they don't like to be scolded. They don't. It's really amazing because I have 4 assistant coaches, 3, and we all talk about this. And the guys that coach with me are not quite half my age, but close to it. And even they say, these kids can't take criticism. So it's all in the delivery, Joe. But the biggest thing I do is I hate giving up possession of the puck. I would rather, as Herbie would say, you regroup. More goals are scored on counters than on initial rushes.
Mm-hmm.
More goals are scored on broken plays than initial rushes. And you have to be able to take advantage of what comes your way. The biggest thing is I don't want my defenseman throwing the puck up off the glass on breakouts. No, I'm not saying there isn't a time to do that. And I don't want my forwards or anybody dumping the puck in. There is a time to do that. But you cannot develop creativity, you cannot develop offensive skills without having the opportunity to try and learn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing Herbie did. He said, I'm not going to yell at you for trying to be creative and trying offensive moves, but don't do it in our defensive zone. Leave the creativity to red line and in.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't yell at us. He encouraged us. It opened the door. It was awesome. And so that's the message I give my players. We had a practice the other day, and we're doing a regroup drill, and one of my younger guys said he got stuck on the boards. And he said, Coach, do you want